What about someone that's more at your stage where they walk into a conference and they look around and like there's people that are a little bit younger, there's people a little bit later on in their career, but someone mid-career that maybe you knew in a former job that you work together, and they bump into you and say, Adam, I love this space, but it's been a struggle to keep my career going on track. What would you say to help them recharge the batteries and think about what their next move should be if they want to stay in digital infrastructure?
I had a conversation with someone not too long ago at ITW. That's a major conference. That one's we'll call it near Washington. Everyone sort of, it's in Maryland, but we'll call it in Washington, DC. And you run into thousands of people. It's one of the larger events. And I've had this question asked before. You'd have to look at, where you currently stand. Are you in a smaller DC, and even I go down the path of telecommunications, those, carriers or telephone companies, as they used to be called, have little DCs. They might be getting out of those DCs by either selling them and getting them as an acquisition, or getting acquired by a DC company, or they're simply just shutting them down and turning them into a pure little telecommunications hub. You need to see what some of the skills that you've got, and work with, a conversation with a big player. In the US, you've got, obviously, DataBank are always looking for people. So jump on LinkedIn, and there's a couple of people I can recommend. I won't mention their names on this, but I'm happy to reach out, or if you reach out and say, who should I talk to? There's some key people that are on LinkedIn every day posting up, we need a job in such and such a county or such and such a state in the US. Same goes in Singapore. There's quite a few people because that's another major hub for Asia Pacific. In Europe, it's a little bit different because you've got the German markets, the Dutch markets, the English market being the UK, got a little part of Ireland as well. Then you've got other places like Brazil's going, absolutely astronomical. Spain is growing. Italy is massive now because it's got some new epicenters coming along, or that's what I call them, the facilities that are bigger than just a standard 1 or 2 or 10 megawatts at 50, 80, 100 megawatts. So each region has some key drivers, some key DCs that are going into it. So having an idea of what you want to go into, there's some key people on LinkedIn, as I said, that are always looking. That's where I sort of go to and go, if you want this particular role, follow this person, connect with this person. They're more than willing to do that. There are also some amazing recruiters out there. There's a particular recruiter I know, Andy Davis. I see him a lot. I've been on his, I was one of his first, I think, maybe top 5 or 10, speakers at his podcast he created a couple of years ago. His focus is all about the DC, world and recruiting top talent for that. There's also Reese out of Singapore, and there's quite a few in the US as well. So looking after those particular people, because they have a better knowledge of more than just the one site. They look at many different sites, and they have access to AI companies that are building a DC or buying capacity inside one, which is obviously the hot topic at the moment. AI is such a major driver. Then you've got the cloud. So the hyperscalers, the OTTs, as other words as they call it, they're looking for particular roles. They don't necessarily post online heavily on their LinkedIn with their recruiter because they get smashed with thousands of applicants. What they do is they pass it to a special recruiter who focuses on the DC industry. There's quite a few here in Australia that I've worked that do, acquire people to bring them into the region. So from, I won't say New Zealand because New Zealand's now growing that market and people are moving from Australia to New Zealand. But when the market was, we need some construction teams, they knew that they could pull it from a different country into Australia. And that's happening a lot in Europe and has done so for many years. So those recruiters are able to rinse and repeat because they've got a strong relationship with the businesses themselves, but they also have an understanding of where you could be fit into that area, but they also have multiple DCs. I would support, and if I know you well enough or have an idea of what skill sets you have, I'm more than happy to do some personal intros as well. These DCs reach out sometimes on a daily basis, but more often not on a fortnightly or monthly basis just to check in. There was a conversation I had, and I had to do a quick sum. I talked to around 2,000 different DCs a year. Now, that's from players who are CEOs of the DCs through to just a small 20, 30, 50 rack facility in the middle of insert country or town. So, there's always a way of which I can say, hey, I've seen this, I've heard this. You do have someone who's interested to do this, even if they don't have a job that's been posted or broadcasted, they are able to find a role for you in time. And I think that's something that's important. Is sometimes your perfect role may not be available today. It may take a week or two, and they sometimes have to do a full probity and procurement process. That's just a part of the big industry that we're in now. Is they want to make sure they hire the right person. It does take time to train you, even though you have the skills. So be mindful that it can take a couple of weeks and there's a process around it, but don't feel frazzled. I think that's something that has come to mind is, I want a job now, I need a job now. If you have that desperation feeling, it's sometimes you jump at anything and it's not the right fit and you hop around, which is hard to sort of get your great legs grounded, but also you jump in and it might take 6 months for you to go through some processes. And I know one of the hyperscale or the cloud providers I tried to look at, they offered me a job and they said, do you want to go to Singapore or Sydney? Being a Brisbane-based person in Australia, I was like, I don't know if I want to move. After going through the first 2 rounds, they went, well, we can leave you in Brisbane, but it's a 6-month testing window before you then have to move. I didn't even have I wasn't even doing the particular works. It was all training and processing. And to me, I was going, I'm losing some of my skills by being in that role for 6 months, not even doing the job that they've asked me to do yet. So be mindful that there are processes to get to that point. It's just a matter of how comfortable you are and where you want to be. And you've got to think about a 3, a 5, and a 10-year plan. This industry, as I said, is rapidly growing. We don't know what we don't know, and we also don't know this industry and how it's playing out in some areas. So having a general skill set and then also a very particular, a small area of focus helps dramatically in this industry because you can pivot along the way. We look at Bitcoin mining and the cryptocurrency market. It's been very fluctuational, and that's been a part of the technology boom and bust, as it were. But transforming those crypto mining DCs into AI DCs has been a very almost instantaneous change, and people are excited for that. So be mindful that just because you're in an industry or in a department, you might not have a job tomorrow. Rest assured that the DCs are growing, and sometimes you may work for a company and they may get acquired and they get into a bigger role. That's how I sort of want to make you understand the different world that we're in. There is a job for you. It's just a matter of how comfortable do you feel in doing it, and do you feel like working for a bigger company or shifting across. Titles aren't everything. That's something I've learned in this industry. You can become a GM, you can just become a director, or you can become an AVP and still be a leader, still be able to direct and support and be in that particular path because they're in a niche area. You're focusing on a sector of the larger business. They don't even have a team of 1 or a team of 2 or a team of 3, but a very pinnacle to the business itself. And that's something that's important in how we sort of work in the DC space.
Yeah, Adam, you raised a really interesting point